Welcome to Studio D on the campus of the University of Oklahoma. This is Sooner Sports Pad. And now, your host, Chloe Sparks.
Welcome to Sooner Sports Pad, everyone. I'm your host, Chloe Sparks, here with our analysts, Lindsay Gibbs and Parker Thune. Guys, we had to cancel last week's show due to bad weather, but we are back this week to make it up to you with some new content at the end, so stick around for that. Now let's get right into it. The Sooners continue their ascent as they wrecked the Red Raiders in Lubbock on Saturday, 62-28, and it started early and it started often. With the return of a familiar face, we got to see OU offense as we know it back in action with 213 rushing yards and 6 touchdowns. Along with TJ Pledger, this O-line is going to provide a different look each week and a lot of headaches for the defenders. And how about the defense the last couple of weeks? Wow, did we miss seeing those turnovers. Just look at Trey Norwood, not one, but 2 picks off of deflections in the opening quarter, and the offense capitalized. This team continues to improve as we get into championship November, where the Sooners have gone undefeated under head coach Lincoln Riley since he became the head coach. We're seeing the defense make plays too. Ronnie Perkins is back from suspension. He's a force. Spencer Rattler's gunslinging arm is also accurate. He's making good decisions, and maybe something that was overlooked on Halloween, only 2 penalties for 15 yards. Now that's scary. What a defeat, you guys. Who made you proud?
All right, we spoke about him earlier, Chloe. My top performer this weekend was DB Trey Norwood. He was out last season due to an injury, but he did make a comeback this week against Tech. Norwood picking off not 1 but 2 passes made by Raiders QB Alan Bauman, running it back for 19 yards. He had some great pass breakups this game as well. And I mean, this is back-to-back games. The Sooners Speed D is showing out. Talk about a sight for sore eyes. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. It's turnovers like these that are going to get us that dub at the Big 12 championship game.
Yeah. It definitely does seem, Lindsay, that this defense is starting to hit their stride. But the guy I want to highlight, and Chloe, you mentioned the Sooners' strong rushing performance at the top of the show. There was one guy that did a lot of the damage in that department. His Twitter handle is Dre Day. And folks, Dre Day fell on Halloween this year. Ramondre Stevenson came back with a vengeance. 13 carries, 87 yards, 3 touchdowns for the senior out of Las Vegas. Take a look at the undershirt. He says, "I'm back." And he certainly is. It's part of a huge day for the Sooners on the ground. 213 yards and 6 touchdowns as a team. He's a guy that averaged 8 yards per carry in limited action last year. And hey, as you look ahead to this Kansas game this weekend, last year on only 5 carries against the Jayhawks, Ramondre Stevenson rushed for 109 yards and a touchdown. So he may be one of the X factors in the Oklahoma offense this week and going forward.
Now let's see what the players and coaches had to say about the game in Crimson Critique.
Playing lights out. It makes our job a lot easier on the offensive side of the ball. Great field positioning. And we just executed our offense at a high level tonight. And, you know, we had fun doing it.
It wasn't the easiest one to throw in. You could see some of the balls die into it, and really some of the deep balls, you know, kind of downwind really take off on guys. And I thought he really controlled the ball, threw it well, was patient, and I think a lot of that is due to how well our offensive line played. I mean, they absolutely controlled the front, and I think helped make Spencer comfortable.
Just trying to, you know what I mean, do what I can to contribute on the defense, you know what I mean, for the guys that I'm out there playing with and for the team as a whole. So it's one of those type of things that.
Time for top plays now. I don't know about you guys, but I saw the light with that Austin Stogner catch in the end zone. That was a little sick, wasn't it? It was early in the second quarter. Spencer Rattler managed to scramble just long enough to get it out to Stogner, who was well covered. He takes 6 points to the ground, and with that 27-yard score, that put the Sooners up 35-7. The tight end now has 335 yards on the season, guys, for a tight end. Hopefully that's a gift that keeps on giving for the next couple more years. You guys think you can top that play?
Oh, yeah, I'm going with another touchdown, but this one made by Jeremiah Hall. The guy has got hops. Hall recovers from a tackle and completely scales these guys with an assist from Sooners' Adrian Early. The ball came loose, but it was ruled an Oklahoma TD, making the score 28-7 after the field goal. A nice lead in the first half. And Hall probably wasn't the only one to make a nosedive in Tech this weekend, but he was the only one that mattered.
Gosh, you love to see the H-backs getting some action. Now, the play that I want to show y'all was not a touchdown, but I think it gives you some indication of just how high this Sooner offense can fly as they hit the home stretch in the Big 12 Conference slate. Because Marvin Mims has been huge in the passing game. Austin Stogner's been huge in the passing game. But one guy is just starting to unlock his true potential in this Oklahoma offense, and that's Theo Weiss. The Sooners' longest passing play this past Saturday was not the deep ball to Stogner, not the deep ball to Mims. It was the 7-yard button hook that Theo Weiss turned into a 48-yard gain. He is something special with the ball in his hands. And trust me, if Rattler can get him more involved in the passing game going forward, man, this offense is going to be scary. He topped the century mark for the first time in his Oklahoma career on Saturday against the Red Raiders. 5 catches for 105 yards. So, Theo Weiss, come on down.
There's more up next with women's golf. We have a leader in the pack coming on the show, so stay tuned for that when we return.
Thank you to our Cornerstone Television partners, OU Health, Anheuser-Busch, and the OU College of Professional and Continuing Studies, and our community partners, Landers Auto Group, Coca-Cola, and OU Health.
Welcome back to Sooner Sports Pad, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning back in. Now, OU Women's Golf just wrapped up their fall tournaments with Hannah Screen leading the way. Screen took some time now to speak with Sports Pad's Kimber Ball. Let's check it out.
All right, today we are joined by Oklahoma women's golfer Hannah Screen. Hannah, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
That's great. So, Hannah, you guys just had an event at Karsten Creek. It was Cowgirl Invitational, sorry about that, where you had your 3rd straight top 10 finish of the season. What was the key to putting together such a strong round, especially under such tough conditions and at such a difficult course?
I think something that I kept in the forefront of my mind, even though it was very difficult, was to just stay so strong mentally, because I think I had to accept that I was going to make bogeys out there, and I knew that everyone else was, and the conditions were extremely hard on top of it being a hard golf course. So, I mean, I think in my first round I had a little bit of a mental wobble, I would call it, which every golfer experiences, and I spoke to my coach and we kind of caught on to it, and I just regrouped and just said, pars are great out here, and I just plugged away and kept going.
Home for you is over in England, and you represented England on their national women's golf team. What kind of experience did you gain from competing for them?
I've had a lot of experience with England golf. I've been able to travel with them for quite a few years now. I got in the squad when I was about 15, 16, so I was in the girls' squad, and then I was lucky enough to transition to the women's squad. And it's just given me so much opportunity, and I'm really grateful for the coaches and the managing staff and all the people behind the scenes at England Golf. They really have supported me, and they really supported me with my journey in moving to America, and they gave me a lot of guidance with that. And yeah, obviously I get to play with my country's flag on my arm, which is awesome as well.
Yeah. All right, well, Hannah, you guys have finished the fall part of your schedule. You guys are looking ahead to next semester in the spring for a Big 12 title run and hopefully a national championship run. What are going to be the keys to making that happen? What are you guys looking ahead to?
We've just really started looking deeply into our stats, which I think will really help us. We can fill a few gaps that we may feel are missing, but I think I've said it previously, the good teams do the basic things so well, and I think we can gain a lot of confidence from this semester moving forward, and just going low obviously helps, and staying strong mentally, I think we'll give ourselves a great chance of making it all the way.
Thank you so much, OU women's golfer Hannah Screen. Back to you guys in the studio.
After transferring to OU, Alexandra Gore became one of the best singles players in the Big 12. Now, she's facing an even bigger opponent. Sasha is from Ukraine and plays tennis at the University of Oklahoma. The COVID-19 pandemic caused the season to be cut short and Sasha to return to her home country for the summer, continuing to practice for the upcoming season.
Then I went to a course and I was like, well, I'm out of breath and my heart rate is raising, like it's very high. And I was like, maybe I'm not trained enough, because we were all sitting at home and doing nothing basically physically.
But that's when things took a turn for the worse.
I'm fatigued, I'm tired, I have to lean on something to catch the breath.
On August 8th, Sasha couldn't return to the court.
The doctor said do the regular blood test, and that's when we discovered that it's something wrong.
After lots of testing, the doctors made their diagnosis.
They checked me and they said, yeah, you have myelodysplastic syndrome.
The early stages of acute leukemia, meaning Sasha needs a bone marrow transplant to recover. OU Athletics has started a GoFundMe called Strong for Sasha in order to help raise money for the transplant.
It's crazy, and that's it makes me a little bit emotional because the amount of people who reached out to me and donated, and I'll say that I didn't know that the people can be so nice to the people they don't know, in this kind of situations.
With support from across the Big 12, Sasha hopes to make a full recovery.
I just want to continue living the life, and step out on the court. That would be amazing. Obviously, I want to continue playing tennis. I want to continue studying.
Sasha is currently receiving medical treatment in Turkey.
They couldn't diagnose me in Ukraine properly, and we decided to go here to Turkey,
where she received some good news.
I did find the donor. I actually found 2 donors. It's very hard to find with my disease. It's very hard to find the donor. Some people don't find the donors all around the world, for 30 million donors there, and they don't find it. And I found 2.
You can still donate to Sasha's GoFundMe to help cover the cost of her transplant and her recovery.
And that's it for now, but stick around because when we return, Lindsay and Parker are going to face off. Welcome back to Sooner Sports Pad, everyone. It's time for Lindsay and Parker to face off. For the first question we have, guys, we are halfway through the football season. Who is the toughest team we have left to play that might take away our chances of making it to the Big 12 championship?
All right, I think our toughest opponent left is the Bedlam game against Oklahoma State. I think OU is definitely going to come out on top. This matchup is going to be good with OK State ranked 14th and the Sooners ranked 19th in the AP polls. It's all going to come down to which defense can outperform the other. The Sooners are on a hot streak right now, but the Pokes' red zone defense is a force to be reckoned with. OSU just took a hard L in OT against the Texas Longhorns, so the way they handle this loss rides on the shoulders of Mike Gundy and his squad. I'm looking forward to this game for more than one reason, but the main one being it's going to be right here at the Palace on the Prairie.
Lindsay, I'm not worried about Oklahoma State at all, and here's why. Look, let's not kid ourselves. We're still dealing with little brother here. Oklahoma State has only beaten Oklahoma 2 times in the last 15 years, and there are a few coaches that are as adept at turning wine into water than Mike Gundy, so I'm not buying into the Pokes at all. No, really, if you look at the Sooners, their only bugaboo has been their tendency to beat themselves. Look back at the Kansas State game and the Iowa State game. Those 2 teams didn't outplay Oklahoma. They needed a lot of help from the Sooners, and they needed a lot of mistakes from the Sooners to come out on top. So, provided that Oklahoma doesn't get in their own way over the course of these last 4 games, they're going to be just fine. And Chloe, as you mentioned at the top of the show, as head coach at Oklahoma, Lincoln Riley has never lost in the month of November. He's not going to lose this November either. I can promise you that. I do believe that Oklahoma's going to win out and win their final 4 games of the regular season.
I'm right there with you, Parker. So is this another championship moment?
I think yes. I think that the Sooners have a chance to win the Big 12 championship for the 6th time. A lot of things need to happen first. Iowa State and Oklahoma State need to beat Kansas State. Then when the Sooners beat Oklahoma State, they are golden. The Sooners have made it to the playoffs with lesser odds, and I think that the Big 12 championship is going to be a total dub for the Sooners. Lincoln Riley has never lost a game in November. That's something to keep in mind. So I think the Sooners are going to come out on top in December at Jerry's World.
Lindsay, I love the optimism, and I promise you I'm just as optimistic as you are, but let's pump the brakes for just a second, because the Sooners don't control their own destiny. They dug themselves a pretty deep hole with those 2 early season losses, because as things stand right now, even if Oklahoma wins their final 4 games of the regular season, they still need help. They still need Iowa State to lose. They still need Kansas State to lose. They need a couple things to break their way if they're going to make the Big 12 championship. There's no guarantee that if and when they win their final 4 games of the season, they're going to be playing in Jerry's World next month. So, while I'm every bit as optimistic as you are, Lindsay, and while I do believe that no one in the Big 12 wants to play Oklahoma right now, I'm not convinced yet that they're going to end up in the Big 12 championship next month.
No, I mean, I don't know. I think that we've got a chance to win for a 6th time. Come on,
Oh, absolutely.
6 feet? Absolutely.
But you have to
Come
realize,
on, you got to have hope.
it's not
Some
all in their
positivity
hands.
in your life, Parker. We talked about this earlier.
All right, guys, let's take it over now for your last chance to really impress us. Show us what you got for viral videos this week.
All right, my viral video this week, I mean, we are just getting past wedding season, and this girl just really had to go all for it for the bouquet. Take a look. I mean, look at the reach that girl has. OBJ, I mean, that's a first-round draft pick if I've ever seen one.
That is some athleticism. Right
That
there.
is.
Oh, Lindsay, one of the more disappointing realities here in the year 2020 is that we've already had to eulogize far too many Sooner legends this year, from John Blake to Ricky Dixon, and unfortunately we have to do it again tonight because legendary Oklahoma basketball coach Billy Tubbs passed away in hospice care yesterday at age 85. Billy Tubbs won over 300 games as head coach of the Sooners from 1980 to 1994, claimed Big 8 Coach of the Year honors 4 times, and led the Sooners to a national runner-up finish in 1988, and we remember him on Sooner Sports Pad here tonight. But a man of Billy Tubbs' exuberant personality wouldn't have wanted us to stay too somber for too long. So let's take you back to one of the most iconic incidents in Oklahoma history. It happened in 1989, the year after Tubbs and the Sooners were the national runner-up. It was a top 5 matchup at the Lloyd Noble Center between Oklahoma and Missouri. Now, Missouri jumped out to an early lead, a double-digit lead at that, due to some questionable officiating, and the Oklahoma fans in attendance responded by throwing items onto the floor. This is where Billy Tubbs grabbed the public address mic and intervened, and we don't have the sound for you, so I'll tell you what he said. He said, regardless of how terrible the officiating is, please don't throw stuff on the floor. He earned a technical and a rousing ovation from the Oklahoma crowd. And most impressively, the Sooners then rallied to defeat the Tigers in that contest.
Now it's time to vote. Cheer loudest for who you think won. Was it Lindsay? Now cheer louder if you think it was Parker. Maybe a little biased, but that was a good clip. Parker wins this week. Stick around, guys, because we have all the sports for you to watch for when we return. Plus, you now have the chance to be featured in front of a live national audience when we return. The Sooner Sports Week is served first with volleyball on Thursday. The ladies will host TCU at 6 o'clock and then again at the same time on Friday. There is a whole lot to watch on Friday, beginning with the men and women's tennis teams who will compete in the Big 12 individual championships. And later that night, the soccer squad will be over in Waco to face the Bears at 7. And the Sooner football team is back home this weekend, taking on the Jayhawks on Saturday at 2:30. And Kansas has yet to win a single game this season, so hopefully we don't see anything new on Saturday. But something new to see tonight is the Sooner Sports Pad mailbag that we are now featuring on the show. You guys now have the chance to tweet at us at Sooner Sports Pad, Instagram DM us, Facebook message us with your questions, and your questions might be featured on the show. Tonight we'll begin with some of our crew members' questions. So let's get the first one up there. All right, this one's from Barry Orr. Will the Sooner men make the NCAA basketball tournament this year?
I'm going to go with yes, Chloe, on this one. Their season was cut short because of obvious reasons last March, but I think with Brady Manick and Austin Reeves, we've got a definite chance to make the NCAA tournament this year.
I'll do you one better, Lindsay. I think both the men and the women make the NCAA basketball tournament this year.
Ooh.
You mentioned Manick and Reeves. The Sooners also get a couple of very talented transfer guards in Umoja Gibson and Elijah Harkless. Then Sherry Cole and the women have the best shooter in the country in Taylor Robertson, two solid interior scorers in Mandy Simpson and Maddie Williams, and some very talented freshmen. So I think both teams are NCAA tournament bound.
Good question, Barry. Thank you. Next question. Ashley says, will Spencer Rattler win a Heisman at Oklahoma?
Ooh, I'm going to go with possibly not on this one, only because Spencer started out a little shaky in the beginning of the season and is trying to recover, you know?
Well, it's not just about this year, Lindsay. Spencer Rattler is going to have at least one more season as quarterback at the University of Oklahoma, and I think there's a very good chance he could win the Heisman, because if there's one thing we know about Lincoln Riley's system, it's very conducive to massive production from the quarterback. We've seen that with Baker Mayfield, we've seen it with Kyler Murray, we've seen it with Jalen Hurts. Spencer Rattler, let's call it like it is, he may be the most physically gifted quarterback that Oklahoma's ever had.
All right, and with that, that's all we have time for tonight. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in to Sooner Sports Pad tonight. Be sure to check out all of our social media at Sooner Sports Pad. Remember to ask your questions so that they can be featured next Monday. Same time, same place. Good night.